welcome. Thank you for joining me. Greyboard Gamer here with day 1 of my playthrough of The Legends of Andor. This is legend number 2. I did an intro and setup in the video previous to this, and also went over some of the rules. Again, I'll go over a lot of them through the gameplay when they happen the first time, and I'll probably bring them up a couple of times just to stress on them. But we're ready to start, and we start with Crom. He is our dwarf, and he's up here in the north part of the game board, and we're ready to start. So I'll zoom in up here so we can get a better look at the board and what's going on in that area. Okay, we see Crom there. He's at the just north of the castle, and this castle is its own space, so the border, the line around it, the castle can be entered just by moving one, and then, or it can be passed through either way. Now we see we have a gore here, and I don't know if it'll show up. Yeah, you can see it. Looks like you can. You see these arrows all over the board, and that shows the movement of the monsters. Now this gore, when it moves, is going to move here to space 7, and then in its next move there's an arrow right there. It'll enter the castle, and if a monster enters the castle, it'll get placed on this shield right here because this is a 4-player game. And if a monster enters the castle and there's not a shield to put that monster on, we automatically lose and the game's over. So not only do we have to deal with this one, but we have gores and this bigger guy here. He is a... I forgot his name off the top of my head, but I'll look it up and mention it again. I think it's a Scald, something like that. And we have to make sure we manage these monsters, because if we run out of spaces and one enters, game's over, and we're not going to see a whole lot of anything else going on. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to want to deal with that monster. Now for each time I move one space, I move an hour on the time track that's right up here that you can't see right now, but I'll show that to you. Now you can't move and then attack in the same player's turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move right here in the adjacent space, and as you can see there's a link to it right there. That's going to cost me 1 hour on the time track, and I'll show that to you right now. The dwarf went first and moved 1 space. We'll take his token and move him on to the first space of the time track, which is hour 1. The characters have 7 hours throughout the day to perform moves and actions and different things. And then we have these spaces over here, 8, 9, and 10, which are overtime hours. You don't have to go into them, but if you want to, each time you move into one of those to perform something extra, you can see there's a -2 willpower, and that'll get reduced on your player board, almost like your health points. But here it's all willpower. So he moved the 1 space, and we moved him up 1 on the time track. The dwarf is going to end his turn on the space he's on, and the space he's on contains a fog token, which means we will flip it over and reveal it. And it's 1 gold. And that worked out okay. That's a good one. The dwarf will get 1 gold onto his player board. That's much better than running into a monster. So he has 1 gold that he's able to spend now. The dwarf's turn is done. Next we'll move on to Thorn. He is our warrior right here in the middle near the castle. Now I have 2 characters that are down here. I don't know if I think I'll bring them up to deal with these monsters, and I'll have Thorn move over to help the dwarf. The quickest route to get there is going to be 2 spaces. right here across this area to that one. I'll do that. I'll move, well, yeah, I only have 1 gold for him, so he's not going to buy anything because you need 2 from the merchant. So I'll have him move 2 spaces. And you can still see the time track in this shot. So I'll take his token and move it over here to hour 2 since he moved 2 spaces. Now he's in the same space as the monster, but again, you cannot move and then attack, so he's going to have to wait till it's his turn again in order to perform an attack. Next up, we have Chada, our archer over here. And she's the one that I gave the 4 gold to. I want her to get over here to the merchant and start buying items that we need. And it looks like 3 spaces is the quickest way that I'm going to get there. So I'll move 3. And I'll go ahead and move her token 3 and have her purchase some items from the merchant that are on the equipment board. And for Chada, I'm going to spend all of her gold, all 4 of it. First thing I want to do is get the telescope. This telescope, it allows me to uncover tokens on adjacent spaces. It does not activate them, however, so that means I can look at what's under these tokens without activating them. That way, maybe I'll find where the monsters are at and I won't end my turn on those spaces activating them. And then second, I'm going to purchase the Falcon. Now the Falcon, as you can see, and then on the other side when it's used, it's up flying. The Falcon enables 2 heroes to trade any quantity of small articles, gold, or gemstones, even if they are not standing on the same space. It can only be used once per day. That's why it has that opposite side flipped over so you don't accidentally use it again. After the use, it's flipped over, and then when it's the next day, at sunrise, it'll be flipped back over to the side you see here, which means it's ready to go again. First we have our telescope, and as you can see she has 3 slots, so you can hold up to 3 items. If you have to drop something to pick something else up, that's fine too, you just leave it in the space you're on. Then we have her Falcon, which will take up this space on her player board. Chada purchased her items from the merchant, ending her turn. Then we have AR, our wizard, right here. And we have a couple of farmers out there. Neither one of them are in danger right this very moment. But eventually, this gore down here is going to move and take that farmer out. But there's no easy way to get that farmer to the castle right now because we got this wall of monsters all the way across here. Now if we take a look, these monsters are going to go into the castle pretty quickly. They only have a couple of spaces to go. And I'll go over their movement rules when we get to that portion of the game. But I have to decide what I want to do with her here at the beginning of this day. I'm going to move her, and it's going to take me 3 to get there. I'm going to move her to the space with this gore right there to get ready for battle. And there's a reason that I chose that one, and it should become a little more clear when I do the movement later. She moved 3, so she needs to mark 3 hours on the time track. And that brings us back around to Crom, our dwarf. And this one's going to be pretty simple. I'm going to move him 1. That way he is ready for combat on his next turn. And then that will take us over to Thorn. And I'm going to do the same for him. Move him 1. So he's also ready for combat on his next turn. Next, that'll bring us to Chada, our archer here. We have Chada here, right next to this farmer, and I want to get that farmer back to the castle. I will use her wineskin, and I'm going to use both sides of it to give me 2 free movement points. So I'll enter the space with the farmer, and then move 1 more space. Now the farmer token just stays with you, it doesn't go on your player board. And then I'm going to use 1, 2, and then I'll leave the farmer there, 3 movement points, or 3 hours, to be adjacent to the same space that Aara and that monster, that Gore, are in, so I can help her with that combat. Now our farmer made it back to the castle and will get turned over and added as an additional shield that can be used. That way now I can have 2 monsters in a 4-player game enter the castle without losing. I use 3 hours up for my archer, so she's now on hour 6. Next we have Aara. It's her turn. And I'm going to have her initiate combat with this Gore here. And I'm going to have her invite Chada, the archer, to join her in the battle because she's in an adjacent space, so she's able to do so. A round of combat costs 1 hour on the time track. The purple disc for Aara, and since Chada is joining in, she will have to move her disc 1 hour also. To help me keep track, the monster section here on the game board, we're fighting a Gore. So this cube will go there. He has a strength of 2, and these are the rewards if you defeat him. And he has 4 health points and uses 2 of the red dice for combat. Aara initiated the combat, so she will roll first. And no matter what her willpower is, she's only going to roll 1 die. Chada, her current willpower is 7, so she's on the second line here, and she'll get to roll 4 die. But again, with her special ability of being able to attack creatures on adjacent space, in battle she has to roll her dice individually, 1 at a time, and she has to choose when to stop, and only the last die counts. When we're fighting together, we combine our strength points. So nobody has any increased strength points yet. So Aara has 2, Chada has 2, so they start with a combined strength of 4. Now Aara will roll her 1 die. She rolls a 3. Now with her special ability, she's able to flip that over to the opposite side to make it a 4. Now I could do that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep the 3 because she can also apply that ability to anybody that is joining in with her in a battle. So we'll start rolling Chada's dice, and they have to go 1 at a time. And she got a 4. Now I'm going to roll again, which means that 4 will not count. I'm going to roll again, and we got a 2. Now I'm going to actually keep that 2 and use Aara's special ability to flip that to the opposite side, which is a 5. So our total roll will be our combined strength plus our highest or final die roll. So we have a combined strength of 4, plus the 5 gives us 9, and 3 more gives us a total of 12. Then we roll for the Gore, who has a strength of 2. And when he rolls the 2 dice, well, we got a special circumstance that came up right away. When the monsters roll their dice, if the dice are the same, then they add them together. So instead of him just saying, well, 2 is his highest, he's going to get a 4. Plus his 2 of strength is 6. So his total die roll and total battle amount is 6 total against our 12. That's a difference of 6, which means he will take 6 damage. The Gore only started with 4, so 6 is more than enough to eliminate him. And that brings us to the reward. You'll see that there's a symbol below that says 2 gold, 2 willpower. You get 2 total. It's either you can take 2 gold or 2 willpower, or I believe you can split it up and maybe take 1 gold and 1 willpower, any combination of, and that's distributed between the characters that were involved in the combat. I've decided to give the full reward, and I've taken 2 gold and I'm giving them both to Chada. The Gore was defeated and will be removed from gameplay. Creatures that are defeated are placed here on space 80, and the narrator token is moved up 1 for each creature that is placed there, which will trigger our Rune Stone card. We've reached the space with the Rune Stone card. Place a Gore on 43 and a Scrawl on 39. So we'll grab a Gore, and then we'll go on 43, which is over here by the mine entrance. And a Scrawl will go on space 39. Now let a roll of the dice determine the positions of 5 of the 6 hidden rune stones. One hero rolls 1 red die and 1 hero die. The red die indicates the tens place of the number, and the hero die indicates the ones place. And then there's some narrative. The heroes learn about an ancient magic that still holds power, rune stones. Well, let's go ahead and get out the dice tray and determine the location of 5 of these. Lucky here early on I had a big open space in the middle of the board to do this. So we'll roll the die for the first stone. And it's a 5 and a 3. This is always the tens place, so 53. Move this out of the way. Grab one of these stones at random. 53 is up here. That's one of them. The next we have 24. 24 is here next to this farmer. 12. 12 is up here by where our fighter and dwarf are at. 2 more. 25. 25 just below the farmer. And our last one, 54. And 54 is right next to where the other one started us out at. The rune stones can be collected in the small storage spaces on the hero boards. Just like fog tokens, they can be uncovered with the help of the telescope. Again, you have to be on adjacent space, stopped on adjacent space. Same with the fog tokens, you can't just be passing by and revealing them as you go. Rune stones can also be uncovered and collected when a creature is on the same space as the rune stone. If a hero has 3 different colored rune stones on his hero board, he gets 1 black die, which has higher values than the hero dice. As long as the rune stones are on his board, he's allowed to use this black die in battle instead of his own die. And again, the wizard can use the special ability with the black die. Let me show you one of the black dice. The lowest you can get on the black dice is a 6. There's a 6, an 8, a 10, and a 12. Now if you have those 3 stones on your hero board, then you can roll this dice instead of the colored dice that are designated for your character, which can give you a big advantage as far as the damage you're able to do, especially with a combined attack with other characters as a group. If we get really lucky, maybe 1, 2, 3, those 3 rune stones will be all different colors and we'll be able to give them to one character. Or we may have to travel over here to collect a different color rune stone. But at least it's not too far. These 2 are not too far from either one of the bridges here, so it's not too far away. That will finish up Ayara's turn, taking us over to Crom, the dwarf.